I have a lot deck profile for you guys. This is what I use to climb plat. I am almost to diamond with this deck. A lot of people say, well, I can get diamond with X deck. Well, that's true. You can pretty much get diamond with any deck if you try hard enough. It does not make it good. This is definitely a more casual deck, but it's really fun. I like it so much that I blinged it out because it's really fun. So for casual duels or to just cheese your opponent, this is a lot of fun. And so let's get into it. We got 2 Watt Fox. This card is destroyed by your opponent's card, either by battle or card effect. Your opponent cannot special summon a monster or activate spells, traps, or speller trap, or monster effects for the rest of the turn. So if your opponent has something on board that's disruptive during the battle phase, you can crash this into it, and then they just won't be able to do spells or traps or whatever for the rest of the turn. Or if your opponent has just crazy amounts of back row for whatever reason, and you kind of want to force them to waste it or lock down their back row, that's what Watt Fox is good for. Next we have Watt Lemur. If it's destroyed in its owner's possession by an opponent's card, either by battle or card effect, your opponent can't conduct their battle phase during the next turn. So say you're going second and your opponent has gigantic board.exe, you can ram this into the smallest thing that they have on the board, and it's basically a threatening roar. Next turn they just can't conduct the battle phase at all. It's even better than threatening roar. You will take a little bit of damage, but oh well. It's pretty good at stalling. Next we have 3 Watt Dragonfly. If it's destroyed by your opponent's card or by battle, you can special summon 1 Watt monster from your deck. You could, if you're really desperate and need to stall for whatever reason, you can crash this into an opponent's monster, get Lemur, and then crash Lemur. Most of the time I just set this card. It's just really good for searching. It's also pretty good to set this, they attack into it, and then you get Watt Fox, so they basically don't get a main phase 2 or any battle phase monster effects. So that's pretty good. Next we have the 1 Max C. So this is pretty much in here because I haven't replaced it yet. It is fun sometimes to just have the 1 Max C go off, but honestly, I think if you have the option to, you should just do triple card of demise instead. I know that's probably a lot of gems for some people, and since Master Duel is kind of like making you conserve your gems and crafting materials more, you might rather just run the Max C since you'll probably already have it. But personally, I prefer the triple card of demise. I won't get into why in a little bit. And then we have 2 Watt Giraffe. It attacks your opponent directly. If it inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, your opponent can't activate cards or their effects until the end of the turn. So this card's great. And the reason why this card is great is because 1, it can attack directly, and 2, it has like a Watt Fox effect on wheels, kind of. Not activate cards or effects until the end of the turn is pretty good. Also, you can't be evenly matched. That actually came up in one of my matches. Like, my opponent had evenly, and they couldn't do it because at the end of my battle phase, I had attacked with Watt Giraffe, so they couldn't activate cards or effects. They had to do it on their turn, which pretty funny, honestly. Next, we have 2 Watt Pheasant. This card can attack your opponent directly. When it inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, select 1 face-up monster in the field or remove it from play until the end phase of this turn. This effect isn't super great. It's okay at best. The real reason why we're running it is because it can attack directly. Do keep in mind though that the banish effect is mandatory. So if this is your only card on your board, you will, the only monster on the board rather, you will be banishing it if you attack directly. So make sure your opponent has something on the board, or you have something on the board that you want to banish until your next turn. Sorry, until the end phase of the turn. It also can be useful because you can banish something that's like had its stats messed with or had its effects negated, so it can just come back to the field at the end of the turn. But next we have 3 Watt Cobra. So Veil Nobra. This card can attack your opponent directly, which is good. And what's even better is when it inflicts battle damage to your opponent by a direct attack, you can add a Watt monster from your deck to your hand. I wish it was a Watt card, but Watt monster is still good enough. This deck has a lot of searchability between Watt Cobra, Dragonfly, and the Watt Train, which we're going to get into, and our next card, the Thunder Seahorse. You have so much searchability. You can discard this card, add 2 level 4 Thunder type monsters with the same name with 1600 or less attack from your deck to your hand. You can only use this effect with Thunder Seahorse once per turn. You cannot special summon during the turn you activate this effect. Some people run 3 of this, so you can also just get another 2 of these for constant searches and set up for future turns. I personally don't like that. I just like running the 2 copies, but if that sounds good to you, you can take out one of the Card of Demise and run triple Thunder Seahorse. Most of the time, I will go for either Watt Cobra or Watt Giraffe, since those are 2 4s. You can also go for Watt Pheasant if your opponent has something that you need to get rid of on the board for like a turn to do things. But yeah, those are your options. Most of the time, I will just go for the Giraffe because it can attack directly. And being able to attack directly is pretty good. So next we have the triple Card of Demise. You draw until you have 3 cards in your hand. Also for the rest of the turn, after this card resolves, your opponent takes no damage. During the end phase of this turn, send your entire hand to the graveyard. You can only activate 1 of Card of Demise per turn. You cannot special summon during the turn you activate this card. Now, why am I running this to draw if I have things that attack directly? It's because your opponent takes no damage after this resolves. If you already have your attack set up for the turn, you can just attack, do the damage, activate the effect, set your cards, and then activate Card of Demise. You're just going to be doing it during main phase too. But if you don't have a good, like, optimal play, you can just set your back row and activate Card of Demise. So it is very good in this deck. Next we have the 2-pot of Duality. We really don't special summon like at all. The extra deck is kind of there as like an afterthought. When you do special summon, it can be really useful, and we'll get into it, but most of the time you're not going to be special summoning, and Duality is just basically a free replacement for itself for consistency, because you really don't need more Watt monsters. You don't need too much more back row, so just being able to have these cards to cycle through your deck is pretty much all you need. Next we have 2-pot of Extravagance. We don't use the extra deck much, so this is a no-brainer, and the things that we do use in the extra deck we typically run double copies of. Next we have Watt Train. 2 Watt Trains. I was running 3. I don't like 3 very much. In fact, I might even cut this to 1, just because most of the time you're only going to be just using it to get 1 card. The second effect is what really gets me though. So you can add Watt cards with different names from your deck to your hand, except Watt Train, up to the number of Thunder monsters you control with different names during your main phase. You can do that, and then during your main phase, except the turn this card is sent to the graveyard, you can banish from your graveyard. You can banish this card from the graveyard, special summon as many Watt monsters as possible with different names from your hand. You can only use the effect of each Watt Train once per turn. So let's say it's getting to late game and you have this in your grave and you have stuff to attack directly with in your grave. You can just, stuff to attack directly with in your hand. You can just banish this sucker and then just pop out your Watt Giraffes, your Watt Cobras, and your Watt Pheasants, and just say, okay, I'm gonna go ham. And that's gonna be 3,200 damage, which is pretty good, and it doesn't matter what your opponent has on board because you can attack directly. So, pretty good. Next we have the 2 Lightning Storm, mainly because this deck is a more casual deck and it's Thunder themed, so I like it. Also, we really don't have a lot of cards that are going to be face up other than our weak monsters, which most of the time will get trampled over. So being able to just blow out front row or blow out back row is really good. And then next we have, kind of out of left field, we got Mage Power. Now, why am I running Mage Power? It's because we have so much back row, or because we're going to be setting cards to activate Card of Demise so we don't discard them at the end of the turn. In Mage Powers, the equipped monster gains 500 attack and defense for each spell you control. Most of the time, you have a full 5 back row, so that's 2,500. So you're going to be smacking your opponent for 3,700 with Watt Giraffe. Or if you have 2 Watts on field with 2 Mage Powers on field, you can potentially be going directly for like 6,700 with 2 monsters. So Mage Power is actually just really good in here. Next we have Wattison. When a Thunder type monster inflicts battle damage to your opponent, gain life points equal to the damage inflicted. It is nice to stall, and it does help you kind of extend the game state to kind of push you over the hump that you need to win. I like this card. I don't see a lot of other people running into Watts because they say it's slow or it's a brick. And while it can be a bit of a dead draw, the kind of aggressive draw version of the deck that I'm running with the card of demises and stuff to refill my hand, I don't really care too much about it being a dead draw. The one drawback to it being face up is you won't be able to use Lightning Storm, but not too huge of a deal. Most of the time, if I'm going second and I have like this and Lightning Storm in my hand, I'm obviously going to play Lightning Storm first to clear out the field before I drop the Wattison. But it's a good card. Next we have 3 Threatening Roar. You want to keep your monsters on the board. Being able to keep Cobra on the board is great because 1, he's a 3,000 attack each turn, and 2, he's also free search each turn. So it's really good to just use Cobra to be able to get the cards that you need to keep doing more things and manipulate the game state. Next we have 2 Solemn Judgment. You need this. You do not want to have your back row blown out. Some people do run Lord of the Heavenly Prison. I personally don't really like him very much in this build. If you do want to run him, I would say pick out a Thunder Seahorse for Lord of Heavenly Prison. Then we have our 1 Solemn Warning, our 2 Watt Cancel, which is pretty great. When your opponent would normal or special summon a monster, discard a Watt monster, negate the summon or destroy it. This is only for things like Synchros or for things like XYZs or Links. This isn't going to stop an effect of a monster that would special summon a monster. Like, I'm just going to say Monster Born. This won't stop Monster Born. This will stop things like Synchros, Links, XYZs. Kind of like a Thunder King on wheels. But yeah, it's pretty good. Also, if you want to, and you want to go more lockdown aspect with this deck, you can also run Thunder King Ryo. And then we have the 2 Solemn Strikes, and that's it for the main deck. And then the extra deck, we have 1 Burl Savage Dragon, 2 number 91 Thunderspark. It's 3 level 4 monsters. You probably won't make this very often because you're going to have to be committing like 2 Cobras and a Pheasant, or a Giraffe and 2 Cobras or something. Or a Thunder Seahorse and something else. I mean, you could summon the Thunder Seahorse and make it. But if it comes out, it comes out. And it's pretty good. You can detach 3 materials, destroy all other face-up monsters on the field. You won't use the 5 effect because we are not running the card to use the 5 effect to attach other materials. But detach 3, destroy all other face-up monsters on the field is pretty good. That is one of the things that you can do pretty easily with the Watt Train. Because if you have a Cobra, a Pheasant, and a Giraffe in hand, you can Watt Train them out and just say, okay, here's my number 91. And then next we have number 102, which is another 3 level 4 light monsters. So once again, 3 of any of these guys. Once per turn, you can detach an XYZ material from this card, target a face-up monster your opponent controls, have its attack, and negate its effects. If this face-up card on the field be destroyed, you can detach all its XYZ materials instead. If you do, any battle damage you take this turn is halved. Pretty good. And then next we have Exotonite. We've explained him in other videos, so I'm just going to kind of skip over him. But basically, if your opponent has more cards in their hand and field, you can detach a material and you can send all other cards in the field to the graveyard. Works during your opponent's during your main phase or your opponent's battle phase. So not bad. Next we have the 1 Zeus, and then we have the 1 Cerberus, the 2 Phoenix, the 1 Hippo Shinigami, This is any 2 light monsters, so you can use the little guys for it, which is pretty good. All light monsters on the field gain 500 attack and defense. You'd be surprised how much that adds up when you're running things that can attack directly, like What Giraffe. And all dark monsters lose 400 attack and defense, which is pretty good since a lot of monsters are dark. You can, when it's destroyed by battle or card effect, you can target a light monster in graveyard, add it to your hand. You can only use this effect of hit push in again once per turn. So you can potentially recycle things like Thunder Seahorse, which is pretty nice. Next we have some Summoner. 2 Thunder monsters, which is pretty much your entire deck. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can discard 1 card, target 1 Thunder monster in your graveyard, except a Link monster. Special summon it to a zone this card points to. So, decent enough. What I would do with this most of the time is if I know my opponent's going to roll me, I will use him to summon back the something like annoying for my opponent to deal with, like the fox, or most of the time I'll summon the dragonfly. They'll have to run over the dragonfly, then I'll get the fox, and then when they run over the fox, they can't do more things. So that's a pretty good use of him right there. Then we have the 1 Nightmare Unicorn, and then the 2 Thunder Dragon Thunder Storm Mechs, which is 2+ Thunder monsters. So this dude is a Link 4. And during your main phase, if you control this Link summon card, you can target one of your Thunder Dragon monsters banished to your graveyard. You won't do that. But the effect that you will use is once per turn, if a Thunder monster would be destroyed by battle or card effect, you can banish 3 cards from your graveyard instead. That's probably going to be a very cheap cost for you because you have all these cards that cycle and just all these cards that you're going to be using. So if you really want to keep your guys on board and you have the resources to commit to it because you WOT trained or something, this card is a very good card to run. But yeah, that's it for the deck profile. I hope you guys like this more casual deck. It was a lot of fun in Platinum. And I will see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.